Right, hi everybody. Sorry, I seem to have a lot of glare in the background here. It's my halo. Anyway, I am going to make puff pastry today, and I'm going to use my puff pastry to make a lovely frangipan and pear tart, which is basically like an almondy pear tart. I had initially said savory pies. I will walk you through how you're going to turn them into savory pies. Somebody's trying to break in. Hold on. Bubby, what you doing, buddy? You need help? Okay. Well, can you ask somebody else?
He took off the washing, the dryer.
That didn't take long.
Guys, you need to stay inside there, otherwise I have to come sit.
I don't know what's happening. Anyway, right, let's get on with it. So, for puff pastry, Wait, let me show you all the faces. Hang on. What are you guys doing? Say hello to all the people.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
That's us.
Thank you. That's us. That's you.
And Robin and Charlotte and you.
Yes.
Daddy.
Okay. All right.
And the blue.
Oopsie. What are we attached to here? Right. Sorry. So that's the children. Off on their way out. Bye-bye. Thank you. Right. Okay. So let's just get back to what we were saying. We have... let me turn it around. You can see what we have here. So for the puff pastry, I have 250 grams of flour and 250 grams of butter. You can use marge, you can use butter and half butter, half marge, all butter. It's totally up to you. I'm just using what I have. A pinch of salt and some cold water. That was from the fridge, although it's probably gotten a bit warm since I set up. Then for the filling, I have I just have 2 pears here that I've sliced, and they're in a bit of water just to stop them from browning. I will show you how I sliced the pear there. I have 70 grams of ground almonds, and I have another 70 grams of butter and 50 grams of caster sugar. And then I've just got some flaked almonds here, which I'm going to sprinkle on top. I think the recipe says 25 grams, but you can just use whatever. It's not really a specific amount. All right, so that's what we're going to be using. How do I strap this in here? I've not been having the best luck with all of this. There we go. Okay, I'm just putting it at that angle because otherwise you get a lot of glare from behind my head. Right, okay, so for puff pastry, it is basically, you don't need a recipe for this. It's equal parts butter and flour. So the different types of pastry, puff pastry has the highest percentage of fat, equal parts. So 250 grams of flour, 250 grams of butter. If you go to like a rough puff or a, what's that one called? Flaky pastry, they have slightly less percentage of butter. And then the least one is the short crust, which is half. So for that would be 250 grams of flour to 125 grams of butter. So I love things where I don't have to look up the recipe every time. That's how you remember it. Okay. So I'm going to take my 250 grams of butter that I've got here. And I'm going to cut a piece off it. It doesn't really matter. Probably like a third. Just a chunk off there. And I'm going to rub that into my flour. Right, my sidekicks have all abandoned me. Sorry. I know a lot of you just tune in to see the sidekicks. Okay. I'm also going to just add a pinch of salt to that. So puff pastry doesn't have any sugar in it. I'm just going to rub it in. Nor actually do any of the other pastries. A sweet short crust is called a pâte sucrée, which is a sweet paste. But all the taste, all the sweet sugary taste comes from the filling that you're going to put into it. Okay. And puff pastry I think is considered quite difficult to make. I don't really like making it, but I do think that a homemade one is so much nicer than any other one that you can buy. If I do buy it ready-made, I try to get the one that says all butter. I think Woolies has it. The other ones, sometimes they're quite waxy. So they use some kind of margarine, but it's very waxy. It's not like the margarine. If you just made a homemade margarine one, it wouldn't be like that. And after you've eaten it, you get this weird like waxy texture on your tongue, which I just find quite vile. But I guess that's just a matter of personal preference. Obviously, because you can buy it pre-made, I would say it is quite a lot of work. You'll see now. Right, so I've just rubbed in some of that butter just to get it to the stage where it's like breadcrumbs or sea sand or something. Okay. And then I'm just going to wash my hands quickly, but then I'm going to add some water into it. Sorry, leaving you all hanging there like dead air. Isn't that the first thing they say about making TV? Don't leave dead air. Right, okay. So I'm just going to use a fork because I'm not a fan of getting sticky hands. You want this water to be nice and cold, and your butter is also nice and cold, nice and hard. Pastry in general likes cold working conditions and a hot oven. So the extremes. Okay, I don't actually know how much water was in there, but what you're going to do is add your water gradually until it starts to come to a paste. Okay, so it was probably about 100 milliliters, but it depends on how much butter you've added and how the weather is and all of that. So you just add the water gradually until you see it starting to form this paste. Okay, you don't want it too dry and tight or too wet and sticky, just somewhere in between. So I'm going to bring it together with my hands now, and I'm just going to knead it a little bit just to get it into a nice smooth ball. Okay, here we go. I'm going to tip it out because it's making a good noise. Get all those bits. Here we go. Okay, knead it up. Can you see what I'm doing? There we go. I feel like that should be my hi Lisbeth, how are you? Are you a pastry baker, Lisbeth? I feel like you're such a biscuit connoisseur. I can't imagine you bake anything else. Right, okay. So you can see there, it's formed a nice ball, a ball. Okay, nothing too high grade about this. Once you've got this ball, I'm going to roll it out. I don't know if you, let me just hold it up so you can really see here. So it's soft, but it's not sticky. It's not sticking to my hands. Okay, and I think that that sort of comes from practice. You know, how does it feel? So rather when you're doing it the first time, just go a bit slowly, adding your water a little bit at a time till you get there. What is that? Okay. This is just some flour in my adorable thing that my grandmother passed on to my mother. Oh, Elizabeth, you've started first cookies in 2 months. That is quite something. I feel like we've all been asleep. It's like Cinderella or something. We've all been no, Snow White? Did they all sleep? It's like one of those fairy stories where we've all been asleep for years and now we're finally waking up. It's quite weird. Okay, so I'm going to just give a good amount of flour all over. I don't want it to stick to my rolling pin. I don't have energy for any of that right now. And I don't know if this is really visible on the thing, but as I'm rolling it out, it shrinks back. Let me just hold it up. So when you put it out and it shrinks back, that is from the gluten in the flour. So once you mix the gluten with water, it becomes springy like that. The way to stop it from being springy is to let it rest in between. But we are just carrying on because we're doing a live video, and who has time for resting? We are no longer Cinderella. Oh, she wasn't the sleepy one. Okay, so the rest of my butter is here. As I said, I didn't measure that piece that I took off, but it was about 1/3. Okay. Now I'm going to stick this in between some paper here, and I'm going to bash it flat. Okay. Need a little bit more space there. There we go. Get rid of all that mess. So if you're having any anxiety in your life, here we go. This is your moment to work it out. Okay. Sorry about the noise. Right, I think that's done. Hi Penny, how are you? It's so nice to see all the friendly faces, even though I'm not actually seeing your real faces. I wish I could see some real faces. I'm so tired of living this online life. Okay, so there's my butter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little envelope for this batter. Okay. So I've smashed it flat, and it's a bit smaller than the size of this pastry that I've rolled out. And I'm doing this method because my butter is cold. If my butter was room temperature, I would just dab some on and then fold it in. It doesn't really matter. I find having it cold like this is just easier to work with. Okay, so I'm going to make my little envelope, fold it over, so that the butter is the letter inside the envelope. Or as some would say, the envelope. Sleeping Beauty, yes! And I'll never forget, I have this relative, great aunt I think she is, and she once told me in Spoonerisms, if you know what that is, the whole story of beeping Slooty. Obviously you swap the, and it was hilarious. I couldn't get enough of it. Right, okay, so my butter's all inside there, nice little letter, and I'm going to roll it out again. Okay, so now to explain about puff pastry, you got to think about the layers. It's all about the layers. Okay, so as I've rolled this out, I'm just going to roll it a little bit wider. The batter is inside there, and there is pastry or dough on either side of it. Okay, now I'm going to roll it into thirds. Okay, and you'll see in all of the recipes it always talks about this rolling and folding. Okay, so that's how you get these layers. Okay, so I'm going to fold 1/3 up and 1/3 down. Okay, so there it is. If at any time you feel like it's getting too hot or too soft or too sticky or too much butter is coming out, you wrap it up, put it in the fridge, and come back and do more rolls and folds later. Okay, but there it is. So now theoretically we should have a layer of paste, a layer of paste, a layer of butter, a layer of paste, paste, butter, paste, paste, butter, paste. So there should be 9 layers already. Okay, gonna roll it again. Oh, sorry, and I've turned it. So it was that way. Now I've turned it that way. No, I've turned it that way. Don't really know what I'm doing here. I feel like I'm losing the plot of it. Here we go. Okay. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to actually just bring it close so you can really see. So I feel like this is quite an important thing here. I don't know if you can actually see, but the batter is in there. I can see it. It's breaking it up by rolling it. Okay. Right, I shouldn't have done that because I've got to get you back on this ever-loving stand. Oopsie. There we go. Okay. And again, if it feels like it's too springy and it's springing back and it's hard to roll, hard to roll it out, just put it in the fridge, let it rest. Okay. I don't know which way was my thing now. Okay, sorry. But anyway, each time you turn it 90 degrees. I've lost track of which way it was. So 1/3 and 1/3. Okay. I'm going to roll it this way again, but I'm going to fold it that way. But you keep turning it basically to get these. Oh, here comes another person. I don't know if you can hear the commentary. Right, and so you go. So for a good puff pastry, I would say you need at least 6 rolls and folds. I've done 2 now. It's starting to get a bit sticky. I'm going to add a little bit of flour just to get in a 3rd roll before we let it rest. And so my sister was making beef Wellington yesterday for her Mother's Day lunch, or I don't know if she was personally making it. Somebody was making it. Yeah, sorry. Okay, here's a good thing to see. Okay. So there, I don't know if you can see that. That is the batter coming out. It's soft. It's starting to get sticky. It's sticking to the rolling pin. Bye. They're desperate to see what is happening in here. Okay, so it's really getting a bit soft to roll. I've also had the oven on. I'm going to put it back on here to make quite a bit of noise. Oh gosh, now which way have I folded it? Anyway, okay. Fold it up again and wrap it up. Okay, so the idea is that you roll it out, turn it 90 degrees, fold it, roll it out, turn it 90 degrees, fold it, etc. I'm going to stick it in there. So when I was at Silwood, when we were training, we were taught to make a poke hole for the number of times you've rolled it. So I've rolled it 3, I would make 3 poke holes. My poke holes never stay nice, which I can never see. But that's the idea, so that if you have a whole bunch in the fridge, you know what needs rolling. Okay, so that's going to go in the fridge to rest. But of course, by the magic of television, here's one I made earlier. Ta-da! Let me just clean up a little bit here so that we can see what they're doing. So I always keep one of these scrapers or a palette knife or something just to clean away anything that's stuck. As soon as you get things sticking, when you try to roll again, it will stick more in the same place. So I recommend you clean your area in between and then reflour. Okay. Let me roll them out. Alright, some more flour. As I say, here's one I made earlier. So this guy was actually in the freezer. I took it out last night and I left it in the fridge. I've got a little bit soft while it's just sitting here. But I'm going to just hold it up for you to see. So there are these layers that I'm talking about. This one, I can't remember how many rolls and folds I did. It's been in the freezer for a little while. Okay. But this is kind of how you would get it if you got it from the supermarket, ready to go. So this one, you can see there's a big chunk of butter there. I don't know if you can see it. Hold it up for you. So if you get it from the supermarket, or if you're baking it and you see something like that, just roll it out a few more times. The more rolls and folds you do, the higher it's going to puff. So sometimes even the supermarket one, I just roll it out a few times, just to make sure I get a maximum puff for my buck. Okay, there we go. I don't know which way this one was rolled now. I feel like that's the story of today. Which way was this pastry turned before I rolled it? Okay. What you, I guess, want is no chunks of butter, because that will just leave a hole. You want a nice even texture, but with lots of layers in it. That's basically it. Okay. Right, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to cut this out into little pies. I'm going to make square ones because that's easier, but you can cut with a cookie cutter to make round ones or whatever shape you feel like. And I actually love puff pastry because it's so easy to use. You can do so much stuff with it. Okay. Here we go. See, can you see it springing back there? And so a few things that you need to know about puff pastry. The first one is, if the edges are glued, by which I mean the edge here where it was folded, so the layers aren't free, or if you put some egg wash or something on it and the sides become attached, they're not going to do this puffing up thing that you want. So if you want like a vol au vent, something that's really high and straight up, you need to cut a clean edge of it and make sure you don't stick any glue on the side. I'm not really that perturbed. It's a pear tart. That'll be gone in half a second at this rate, at this house. So there we go. Rolling it out. Okay. And I'm going to just cut some nice little squares. I'm going to make little minis actually. My children, they don't know the difference of sizes and things. So they'll be like, can I have some apple? And I'll cut them apple, especially the little ones. And then they'll be like, no, I want 3 pieces. So I just take a piece and I cut it in half again. And then they have their 3 pieces. They don't seem to have realized that they're actually getting fewer the same. So I'm going to do the same with these. I reckon if I make little ones, then they will all be happy if they can have 3 or whatever it is. I'm using my palette knife to cut on here. You can cut with a sharp knife. I just don't want to cut on my surface. I don't want to scratch the counter. If you have like a marble or a marble block or a granite surface, you can cut directly on there. Just be careful you don't scratch whatever you're working on. Right. So my non-stick mats that I'm a big fan of, if you've watched any of these videos, I'm sure you will have seen these non-stick mats 100 times. Okay, so these are my little minis. There we go. But you could make them bigger if you want to make them a dessert size. I'd probably say about 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, something like that. I'm also hoping these will cook a bit quicker so you guys can see the end result in the video. Right, slightly wishing I hadn't done quite so many now. Okay, they're all a bit uneven, but such is the joy of a homemade something or other. Right, okay. There we go. Why don't those fit on there now? Okay. And these little offcuts. Okay, so when you've got offcuts from pastry, I would normally use them to make something like a tarte tatin where it doesn't matter if it puffs high. The offcuts, the non-virgin ones, will never puff as high as virgin ones. So what I would do with them, if I still want them to have layers, I'll take all my little pieces and I'll layer them on top of each other to maintain those layers rather than squashing them into a ball. So like that. As I say, they're never quite the same. And then flatten that and save that for something else. Don't waste them, that's good stuff there. But it obviously won't puff as high as a virgin one. Okay. Right, so let me clear this space a little bit so we can make our filling. So the frangipane filling is basically an almond filling. I hope no one's judging my cleanliness right now. Right. So I have in here, I'm just remembering what I did, 70 grams of ground almonds. And I actually bought quite a lot of ground almonds. I was thinking of maybe doing a macaroon video. We'll see about that. This is butter. It is also 70 grams, sorry. And I softened that a little bit. That one I put in the microwave just before we started. So it's quite soft, so I can smash it in there. And 50 grams of caster sugar, but I think you could probably just use normal sugar, it doesn't really matter. Caster sugar a bit finer. And you're going to smash that and bash that all together until you get a paste. Okay, so this is going to be the glue that is going to stick our paste on top. The original recipe had almond essence in it. Firstly, I just didn't have any almond essence at home. Secondly, I'm not a big fan of that synthetic almond taste. But absolutely, if you feel like you want to ramp that almond up, add that in. And I'm just basically kneading it together. It's almost like a marzipan. I think marzipan would have egg in it, but that's basically the idea. Okay, there we go. So a nice kind of almond paste. Right. I just need to turn the oven on so that it's ready for me when I do this. Sorry, I hear the voices again. Not the voices in my head, I do hear those sometimes too. Right. Hello.
I'm trying to find my snuggie.
He's trying to find his snuggie. Okay. Right, a little bit of almond paste, squash it on there, onto the top of each one. Okay, I'm going to finish these off and then I'm going to come back and show you what I did with the, just so they can go in the oven while we're talking. I don't worry too much. I see mine are very uneven here. Don't worry too much. You'll see when they come out, obviously the difference between that and that is a bit too big. But because they kind of puff up and over, it doesn't really matter that much if they are not 100% even. You'll see. Here we go. Some paste. Ta-da. That one looks a bit less than the others. Okay. No man. Okay. All paste is born even, equal. And this, you can keep this in the freezer or in the fridge or just make something else with it. I'm talking to the video. Do you want to say hi? But then you're going to go elsewhere. Okay. This is Robert. Say hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
You can't even see me.
Okay. Whoa. Okay, so these are pears. I've just sliced them thinly. I'm going to lay them on top of here and put this in the oven, and then I'm going to show you how I slice them. Right. Okay. So we want them to be attractive. So a few slices of pear on each one. My pear is slightly bigger than my squares now. This really wasn't well planned. But I don't think it really matters.
I don't think I should be in here, but I just want to.
I don't know. Oh, okay, take a pair of scissors. I have no idea what's happening behind me. There's a lot of children in here. Okay. And I just put the water on it just to stop it from... No, please don't do that.
What do you mean?
To stop it from browning while I was talking. Because I wanted to prepare them ahead. Okay, there we go. And the last finishing touch on these is to... I don't know what's happening, but it's noisy. Can you guys go outside? No. Okay, that guy, he's really... There you go. Squash him flat. Alright. And then I have a feeling these are not going to stick because my tarts are so small. Put a few flaked almonds on top of each one, just to, you want them to go in the oven so that they can brown as well while the whole story is cooking. Oh no, I missed one. I missed a spot. There we go. Okay. And sometimes I even put a little sprinkle of sugar just to help the fruit brown on the top. Or you could use, if you were just using your pastry straight like that, you could make an egg wash, which is basically just a little bit of, a little bit of beaten egg or something like that. I just want to make them extra brown. I don't know, I like it when they're really nice and caramelly on top. So I'm just sprinkling a little bit of sugar on top. There we go. Right, nice hot oven. I don't know if my oven is hot enough. It was preheated when I started, but it makes a bit of a humming and buzzing noise. If you want your puff to puff high, really high, like up to the sky high, you need to have your puff pastry ice cold and your oven really hot. So I would even bake from frozen. Put your pastry in the freezer, and then when you add your topping or whatever you're going to do with it, and then put it straight into the oven at like 220 degrees Celsius, a hot oven. As I say, I don't know if my oven is that hot. I will show you now in a moment what is happening in there. Just to show you the pears. The pears in South Africa are just coming into season, which is why I wanted to do a pear thing. But you could do this with any fruit. I'll show you now what else you can do with the puff pastry as well while we're waiting. So for the pear, all I did was I peeled it with my vegetable peeler. This is a pick-and pear, but you could use a Pharrell or whatever. I don't think it really matters, whatever you've got your hands on. The Pharrells are always so perfect and beautiful, but somehow that peel is really, they're never as tasty. I like these ones the best. Okay, slice it off. If you've got some pips in it, just cut those out. And because, oopsie, a pear has a very distinct shape, that kind of fat bottomed shape, we want to maintain that shape. So cut your slices nice and thin. Okay, so that you keep that pear shape. I don't know if you can actually see that. The pear shape. Okay. I feel like I'm going to be eating pear as a snack later. Right, so that's your pears, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We've got a few minutes before this is cooked. I will try to amuse you for a few minutes with my Stella wit. I don't know if it is Stella right now. But I just want to show you a few things, other things that you could make with your puff pastry. Okay, my puff pastry is getting quite warm here because it's by the stove. Let me just go and put this in the fridge. That I'm saving. Maybe also for a pear tartatan. It'd be quite nice using up my leftovers now. I hear crying. Oh la la. Yeah. So I've more or less decided that I'm going to take a break from doing the live videos just for the next couple of weeks. It seems like homeschooling is quite an onerous activity. I am getting very familiar with phonics. but it's difficult to make videos, do homeschooling and keep the two twins entertained. So I'm going to work on making some non-live stream videos. If there are any subjects that you would like to see, I think the macarons would be a good option. I would be more than happy to try and video anything that people are interested in learning. Right, okay, so here this puff pastry is. As I said, you can make so many things with it. I'm going to show you a few options. What did I do with that cinnamon sugar? Wrong. Okay. So in this shaker it's just normal cinnamon sugar, so a mixture of cinnamon and sugar. Okay. I'm going to make a palmier, which is a pig's ear, or I've heard people call it an elephant's ear. Oh no, yes, I'm going to miss your company too. I think we must keep doing this, I just don't know how to do it without all the interruptions and so much drama. I don't know. I can't wait for schools to go back, but to be honest, I'm not actually sure when that will be for my little ones. So, yeah, maybe we'll just take a break for a week. Okay, so, and actually, to be honest, if it was up to me, I would much rather be talking to you guys making baking videos, but needs must, hey? Okay. So I'm going to generously sprinkle this sugar all over. Okay. And in your mind's eye, draw a line down the middle like that. I'm just drawing it so you can see where it is. Roll one side in, okay, to that middle point, and the other side in. Okay. Sometimes I feel like it just needs to take a moment to stick together. Stick. Okay. And then you're going to slice it into slices. There it is. I just stay stuck really. I don't have time for nonsense. Okay. Nice sharp knife. Cut the end off. Again, these are kind of minis, I think. Again, if you know anything about me, you know I love everything in miniature. Onto our tray. They look very wonky. Okay, so you can see it's kind of like a little scroll thing. And they do puff up. You can, if you cut them quite thick and they seem very tiny, you can just squash them flat like that. Yes, so what's everyone else been doing? I can't. A Zoom chat, yes, I think that's a good idea actually. Evenings for me are, to be honest, by the time we get to evenings, I'm like, can I just sit on my chair and pretend that I'm, you know, not even a human anymore? I don't know. I can't, yeah, this whole scenario, coronavirus, it's, I don't know, it's beyond normal. Obviously, unprecedented. I do, I think at some point in the not so distant future, my husband will probably return to work because he's in the IT sector. So in that case, I will probably have my beloved Lucy come back and help me with the children. So that might be an option. For now, I'm not too sure how to handle it because, you know, she will have to go on public transport, and is that safe? And at least half of the supermarkets in my neighborhood have been closed down for cleaning and sterilizing, and in fact the local police station too, where I was. So feeling a bit extra anxious about that. Okay, they're my palmiers. I'm now just sprattling on. There we go. Oopsie, you can see them there, and hopefully as they cook you will see the layers very clearly on the side there. Where's this guy gonna go? Okay, so there they are. I'm going to stick those in the oven. going to show you a few other shapes that you can cut. Sugar. Just for ideas. But let me actually, before I do that, let me show you what is happening in the oven. Yes, I don't mind them around as long as they listen to me, but they are terrible. Can you see? I don't know if you can see them, but the layers are puffing. They're not quite there yet. I don't want to let too much heat out of the oven. But they are looking beautiful. Okay. So a few other shapes that you could cut. You can do any kind of wheel. Another one that I like very much is to cut a square. I'm just going to put some cinnamon, or maybe I should put some pear inside. Why not? Actually, should we make a little almondy one? I'm just fiddling around now because I'm waiting for those to cook. Put bits of pear in there. And cut the corners like that. And then every sort of second one you go inwards to make a little pinwheel. This pastry is not very evenly rolled. I will bake all these funny shapes and then I'll show you at the end. So that's a little pinwheel. What else can we do? I feel like I watched a video on this the other day and I had a whole bunch of ideas and now they've all flown out of my head. And I can just hear my husband shouting at my children. It's gone. Yeah, I've got no more ideas. Okay. Let me show you again in the oven. I feel like we're almost there. I'll show you what's going on outside. They are playing soccer. Frisbee, hard to say. Right, okay, let's have a look in this oven. So I'm going to open it up again just to see exactly what's happening, but you would rather not open it because you want to keep that heat in there, you want to keep it nice and hot. You can see on my, on my oven thing, it is at like 220. So they're the palmiers. You can see they're starting to puff up a bit. And these little dudes. Here's my cloth. Let's just roll them out. Uh-oh. So there you can see the layers. Can you see them? All lovely and beautiful and puffing. The whole thing is not quite done yet. They're still a bit pale, so I'm going to leave them a bit longer. But I will take a photograph of them once they are done so everyone can see the final product. I haven't put this recipe up yet on my website, but I will do that when I get a moment. Also, I am looking for suggestions for the newsletter, a recipe for that. I'm thinking of doing cinnamon buns because those seem to be having a moment. But if anyone has any suggestions or requests, the same with baking videos. If there's something you want me to bake and see how I do it, I would be more than happy. And other than that, thank you for watching and I'll see ya soon. Cool. Okay, always the same. How do I end this thing? Finish. There we go.